Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the instant match reaction. Everton 1, Crystal Palace 0 in the FA Cup third round replay. The Blues progress into the fourth round where we will face Luton Town at Goodison Park on the 27th of January. I believe it will be our next game. We've got some break now up until then, of course, with no Premier League game this weekend. And an Andre Gomez Pele from the free kick was enough to seal Everton the victory tonight. Our first free kick goal since 2019. I believe Luca Dean against Lincoln was the last time Everton scored a free kick in a competitive match. So there you go. And what a free kick it was as well, by the way. What an absolute Pele it was, in off the post as well. It was a proper FIFA goal, isn't it? It's one of them that you see on FIFA and you think you don't see many of them often in real life, and that was certainly one tonight. But other than that, it was a pretty dull game of football, really, wasn't it? Do you know what it was? It was a FA Cup third round replay on a Wednesday night between two sides, one of which has just come off the back of quite an extended break and one of which is just about to go into quite an extended break in -2, -3 degree weather, whatever it is. And it felt very much to me like everybody within that stadium, including the players on the pitch, just wanted to get it over and done with and get home and get back to, business, because it always felt like a little bit of an inconvenience, this game. And don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely buzzing that we've won it and I'm absolutely buzzing that we've progressed into the next round. But given it's come in between what would have been our winter break, of course. We've, instead of having a full couple of weeks off, we've had to play this game today, meaning we don't get quite as much time off. And as I said, it just had that feel that it was one of them that nobody really wanted to participate in, but we ultimately had to participate in, and we needed to win. And it was important we won today because, as we spoke about a couple of times over the last couple of videos, Everton had gone a month without winning a game of football. And although there had been various different circumstances in which we'd lost games, such as the Spurs game we were unlucky in, we maybe should have got something out of the Manchester City game. We were very good for 45 minutes, and then, they stepped their foot on the gas, and it's incredibly difficult when a team like Manchester City does that. The Villa game, again, not a great game of football, but chances for both sides. Obviously, the first FA Cup game with Palace, again, a silly sending off, should have had a penalty. So, although we've not particularly been awful in games, barring that game against Wolves, we've still gone a month without winning a game of football, and that can sometimes subconsciously have an effect on the mentality of a team and certainly the confidence of a team. So it was massively, massively important that we won today, not only to progress into the next round, but also to get another win on the board and to be able to, go into this little break with a win under our belt, and that'll give us the confidence coming out of the break when we, when we've got some rather difficult Premier League games to play. So I'm absolutely made up that we won the game. Don't get me wrong, I'm still absolutely freezing from sitting outside for 2.5 hours or whatever it was in the end, even though I was completely wrapped up. I've got about 16 layers on here. I look like Joey from Friends. Even with that, I'm still absolutely freezing. My nose feels like it's about to fall off because I forgot to take some form of scarf or snood or whatever. The only body part that wasn't fully covered, and it feels like it's about to get off and go and get on a bus and go and go on holiday somewhere. But no, look, as I said, it wasn't the most enthralling game of football we've ever watched. It wasn't the most entertaining game of football that we've ever watched. And if you didn't manage to get down to Goodison Park today and therefore couldn't see the game because I don't think it was broadcasted on television anywhere in the world, never mind in this country, then don't worry, you haven't missed much. You've missed an Andre Gomez Pele, which I'm sure you will have already seen on social media and whatever have you, but other than that, you didn't miss much whatsoever. I thought we were quite professional in the game. I thought Palace were really, really, really poor. If I'm one of them however many hundred Palace fans that travelled down today, I'd be absolutely fuming there, because I don't think Palace ever really turned up to win the game. The only opportunities that they had were opportunities that we gifted them towards the end of the game, when I think we got a little bit nervous and we got a little bit twitchy. But for other than that, they weren't particularly interested. And to be fair, neither were Everton, really. I think obviously the effort was there, the determination was there, the desire was there, but the pace of the game just felt incredibly slow. The momentum in the game felt incredibly slow. There didn't seem to be any urgency. There didn't seem to be any sort of need from, or felt like there was any sort of need from the players to go out and put a performance in. And again, ultimately we've won the game, so it doesn't matter. But it just very much did feel like one of them where you're sort of sitting there thinking nobody really wants to participate in this, but we've got to. So ultimately we've got to go out and win it. I thought both fullbacks were absolutely fantastic again today. I think Nathan Patterson deserves a huge amount of credit. Obviously he's been very much in and out the team since he joined the football club. He's had periods where he's performed really well. He's had other periods where he's not been so great, and ultimately he's been taken out the team for players like Seamus Coleman, players like Ashley Young. And I think had of Seamus been fully fit today, I think the majority of us would have preferred Seamus Coleman to start, but obviously through the injury, Nathan Patterson started there, and I think Nathan deserves a huge amount of credit, because I thought he was absolutely fantastic today. He dealt with the Crystal Palace attack brilliantly. Eze, didn't want to know for pretty much the entirety of the game, and although the Crystal Palace fans were seemingly unpleased with Roy Hodgson's decision to take him off, I didn't think it was too bad of a decision from a sort of a footballing perspective, because I didn't think Eze was in the game whatsoever. I didn't think he particularly looked interested, and a large part of that is down to the fact that Nathan Patterson put such a solid performance in, threw himself in front of everything. His tackling was spot on. His defensive work and his defensive awareness was absolutely spot on. Going forward, he was trying to help out as well. Not quite as clinical as we need him to be, but that's something that we obviously all know that he needs to work on. But generally, I just thought he put a really solid, hard-working, grafting performance in today, Nathan Patterson, and he's got a lot of stick recently, and he's had a lot of people talk about whether or not he's good enough and whether or not he is ever going to be good enough. I think today he absolutely showed glimpses of what he can do, and if he can perform like that on a more consistent basis, then I think he'll be in this Everton team a lot more often. On the other side, Vitaly Mykolenko, once again, absolutely unbelievable. I mean, Vitaly's going under the radar massively this season, because since he's come back into the side, obviously we started the season with Ashley Young in there, and Ashley Young played an awful lot of football at the beginning of the season, if we remember, at left back, and he never really nailed down that position. His performances were never really good enough for him to be guaranteed a place in that starting 11 week in, week out. And from the moment Vitaly Mykolenko has been given an opportunity, from the moment he stepped on that pitch for the first time this season, he's pretty much been faultless ever since. And don't get me wrong, he's had moments in games where he's made a bad decision or he's looked a little bit leggy, but for the most part, he's been absolutely outstanding every single time he stepped onto that pitch. And again, today was another example of that. He was absolutely outstanding today. There was a couple of different things that I noticed in the game that may go unnoticed generally, because they're not huge events, they're not huge things to discuss, but there was just a couple of moments where Palace were on the attack and he's just stepped across the ball and the attacker just to create that space to allow João Virginia to come out and collect the ball, or they were looking like they were going to get into a dangerous position, and he just steps across, one step across, and just completely takes the attacker out the game. And that little step is something that he clearly has been working on in the training ground, because defensively, he's so much better now compared to what he was last season. I mean, if you take Vitaly Mykolenko this time last year and directly compare him, it's night and day. to where he is now. He's come on absolute leaps and bounds, and as I said, he's been pretty faultless this season so far, and today he was absolutely fantastic. He didn't have a lot to do because I don't think Crystal Palace were particularly good tonight, but the little bits he had to do, he did really well. And as I said, that little step across is something that's so it's so it just goes unnoticed because it's not anything special, it's not anything magic, it's not on the ball, so people aren't really paying attention to it, but it does so much defensively for the rest of the team. And yeah, I thought he was I thought he put in a really, really solid performance today. I thought the midfield were pretty good as well. Onana and James Garner, I thought it was their best game in an Everton shirt for a number of weeks, and although it wasn't a particularly exciting game, and as I said, I think both sides sort of had the air of let's just get through this one and move forward. Obviously both wanted to win it, but I don't think both really wanted to be there. I think it felt like a bit of an inconvenience, and it did to us as fans as well. It certainly was to us, having to sit out there in -3, -4 degree weather for 2 hours. But I thought both the midfield were really, really solid. Thought Amadou Onana was fantastic again. Winning the ball in the air, winning the ball on the floor, moving it round, passing range was good, spraying passes to the left, spraying passes to the right. You know, whenever we don't have the ball, James Garner's the first one there to put challenge in. He's the first one there to put pressure on the opposition to, you know, to push them up the pitch. And when you've got an opposition that are given that sort of vibe of we don't really want to be here, we're not really, you know, we can't really be bothered with this, then you need players that are going to get at them. You need players that are going to put them under pressure. You need players that are going to, you know, at every opportunity try and win that ball back and try and make it uncomfortable for the opposition. And I think James Garner done that absolutely brilliantly today. I thought they worked really, really well together. Really, really well together today. They had a little partnership going on and it worked brilliantly. It was, you know, Onana on the ball was the more prominent player, but off the ball it was James Garner who was the more prominent player, and it absolutely worked. Gomez, look, what more can you say? I mean, we've won a very dull game of football, 1-0, a game that we didn't really have many other opportunities in. We had a couple of half chances, but not really many other opportunities in. Palace didn't really have many opportunities other than, as I said, a couple that we gifted them towards the end of the game that João Virginia done brilliantly dealing with. But, and ultimately, Andreas stepped up and curled one into the back of the net. It's an absolutely fantastic free kick. The technique and the quality that it takes to be able to pull off something like that is quite outstanding. And listen, I don't think anybody has ever doubted Andre Gomez's footballing ability. I've said it for years. If you put him on a five-a-side pitch, he'd probably be the best player that's ever graced that five-a-side pitch. Technically, he's a wonderful, wonderful footballer. Of course he is. He's played for Barcelona. You don't play for Barcelona unless technically you are a wonderful footballer. He just isn't quite quick enough to keep up with this league. And I thought we saw that at times today as well. I'm not going to slag him off because ultimately he scored the winning goal. But I thought at times we saw today when the game got away from him a little bit, when the pace of the game got away from him a little bit. And only little moments, not like on the counter-attack where he couldn't keep up or he had it knocked past him by Eze. Just a couple of moments where their midfield just played nice, easy 1-2s and he just couldn't keep up with the pace of it. And listen, we've known that for a while. I'm not going to sit here and talk about it for 10, 15 minutes. We've known for a while that ideally to play in the Premier League week in, week out, you need to be a bit quicker than what Andre Gomez is. But the point is, nobody has ever criticised his quality and his technical ability. And if he is going to remain at Everton for the next 2 weeks in this transfer window and he's going to be at the football club for the remainder of the season, then there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't use that technical ability. Now, we will have to be managed massively because he's not somebody you can put in at the beginning of a game against a side that are quick and break quickly and expect them to be able to keep up with the pace of the game. But if you need a goal or if you need a little bit of quality in the final third, then he's definitely got something to offer. And I think he showed that when he come on against Spurs, obviously, and scored that goal and should have had an assist as well in that game. He was robbed of an assist, and he's shown today. You know, when we've needed that little bit of quality, when we've needed that moment of magic, he has stepped up and he has produced it, and he deserves a huge, huge amount of credit for that, because there's not one player in that team on that pitch who would have been able to do that today, other than Andre Gomez. So, therefore, he deserves a lot of credit for that. I thought it was a really, really good finish. The fact that it went in off the post is always much more satisfying, isn't it? And it stopped us from having to sit there for an extra half an hour in the freezing cold, hasn't it? So, happy days, happy days. But yeah, again, for the rest of the game, I thought he was okay. On the ball, as I said, I thought he was always okay. His passing was good, his movement was good, his decision making's good. Off the ball, he just isn't quick enough to keep up with the pace of the game. But we know that. Shao Virginia, I thought he done well. He obviously didn't have an awful lot to do. But when he was called upon at the end of the game, he pulled through. He made a save right at the end of the game, which was very Jordan Pickford-esque. He ran out in the sort of the make your body big stature that Jordan Pickford adopts, and he made a really good save. And then a couple of minutes after, there was a bit of a scramble in the box, and he made a couple of saves in there as well. So, again, although he wasn't called into action many times, when he needed to be called into action right at the end of the game, he pulled through, and he he did a really good job. So, fair play to him. One thing I will say, and I don't want to be too negative, and I won't end on this because I don't want to end on a negative, but it has to be said, I thought both of our wingers were really, really poor again. Really, really poor again. It's just not enough from them. Jack Harrison, again, today, for me, I know people defend him, and I know the stats will tell you that he's involved in X, Y, and Z, and this, that, and the other, but I don't know whether this is just me, but more than often, every time I watch him, he just picks the ball up and runs into somebody. There's never really an end product. There's never really a good cross on the end of it or a good shot. Don't get me wrong, he's capable of it because he showed it before. Showed it against Bournemouth. He showed it a couple of times with some good crosses into the box, but it's not enough. Doesn't happen enough. I know he can do it. I'm not saying he can't do it, but he needs to do it more often, because more often than not, when he picks the ball up, it doesn't end up in anything, and it should. For a player with his pace and his ability and his sort of stature, it should happen more often than it does, and that ultimately is the most frustrating thing. But Dwight McNeil doesn't get away with it either. I thought he was poor today. Again, similarly, every time he got the ball, he was just trying the same thing every time, knocking it into the defender, and it was never coming off. But yeah, look, I don't want to be too negative, and I certainly don't want to end on it negative, because we've won the game, and that's all that matters. We're in the half for the next round. Thought Dom done well, put himself about, worked hard as well. Obviously, not many opportunities, but I think, again, I put that largely down to the fact that I don't think the people around him were particularly great. But yeah, we've won the game, and that is all that matters. We're in, well, I was going to say we're in the half for the next round. We're not. We play Luton at Goodison in a couple of weeks' time. Less than that, 10 days' time. So, yeah, listen, not a great performance. Not a great game of football to watch, but who cares? We won the game. And, you know, I'd rather watch a not great game of football and Everton win than watch a brilliant game of football and Everton don't win. And that ultimately is the be-all and end-all. So, there you go. If you have enjoyed it, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new as well. That would mean a huge, huge amount to me. We'll be back with the play ratings very shortly, so look out for them. But until then, thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Up the toffees, get in, and we'll see you later. Cheers for watching. See you after.